Back here at home, the Houston area is home to one of the largest Venezuelan communities in the country, and reactions continue to pour in this morning. Michelle Troy joins us in the studio with local reaction. Michelle, you spoke with families. What are you hearing?
Hey there, Trace, and I did. And what stood out most was that these gatherings weren't just about celebration. They were deeply emotional. Many of the people who came together didn't even know each other, but they hugged, cried, and stood side by side, united by one thing: hope.
¡Que viva Venezuela!
Yeah, you can hear it there. Cheers and celebration erupted as word spread of President Nicolás Maduro's capture outside a popular Latin market in Katy, affectionately known as Venezuela. Houston is home to the second largest Venezuelan population in the country. Now, what started as a small gathering Saturday morning quickly grew into an emotional all-day show of unity for Houston's Venezuelan community. As the hours passed, the crowd continued to grow. Families arriving with flags, sharing laughter, hugs, and tears. Many told us this moment represents something they never thought they'd see: hope of returning home, reuniting with loved ones, and finally turning the page after years of uncertainty.
Huge victory for the people of Venezuela. I'm not going to get into the semantics and the why did we attack and all that good, stuff that happens after any major conflict involving the United States. But I am going to focus on the people of Venezuela and why this is a victory for them. And I want to kind of share my thoughts and feelings, not only because it directly affects us here in the United States in ways where you had a lot of drugs and things entering the country. Number one, I mean, that is definitely something that we have to get a handle on. It's been a big part of the United States' involvement in, drug trafficking. I think it's safe to say that there has been involvement there, but I don't think we ever think about the regimes that take over countries and inhibit progress from happening. I think that's what you saw for decades in Venezuela. Going back, Venezuela was one of the richest countries in the world because of its oil, right? And that was the industry that paid for the lifestyles and the infrastructure in Venezuela. Not to say that everybody's riding around in Mercedes and Lamborghinis and things like that, but it was a country that at one time the government took care of its people. Hugo Chavez developed programs for the Venezuelan people as subsidies for health care and education and food, all these things that Venezuela struggles with today. Just a couple of notes here. Most Venezuelans are living, a few hours out of the day with no electricity, right? So they've learned how to live without electricity. They've learned how to eat one meal a day, right? They've learned how to get by with very little money. Remember, their money is inflated to 130,000%, 130,000%, right? I remember watching videos back a few years ago of the Venezuela Boulevard, I believe it's called, where money is just rolling around on the streets because it's worthless. They're making baskets out of it, right? You can't buy eggs or bread or anything. So I think when I look at this situation, I always look at the people who are there, right? And what happened to them, right? Another video I was able to catch one day where sometimes I just watch videos of like other societies and, what's going on there, like places I would want to visit. And, I stumbled across the Venezuelan video, and I mean, it wasn't like a touristy video. It was something where you saw the day in and day out lives of Venezuelans and what they're going through. And I would probably estimate that 75 to 80% of the population there is in poverty. And I know we can't imagine that here in the United States, right? But what we can imagine is what happened to Venezuela is when their constitution was changed, when their main source of income was was basically stolen for them, right? And kept from them, right? I mean, imagine here in the United States. I mean, we've already seen like all of our manufacturing isn't here anymore, right? We don't make anything. And that's having a direct effect on the communities that we live in, right? I mean, here in Oakland, California, we had factories of food and clothes and all types of stuff, right? All of that stuff has been exported to another country, mostly in China and India, right? And yes, we are the consumers, but I always think about, and I always said this, not everybody can sit behind a computer, right? And so when you take away industry from a community, a local community, or even a country, it affects more people than we know, right? And so that's why you had a mass migration of people come from Venezuela, not because they just thought that it'd be a better life here in California, in the United States, but because they wanted to survive, right? So their survival kicked in and said, hey, we need to be somewhere where we can live in peace and where my children have the ability to grow up in a country that, is going to take care of its people. And largely that's what happens here in the United States. And so, yeah, I see why there's a mass exodus of that country. Now you're going to see people going back because they want to go back to their countries. They want to be with their families, right? They want to be in their culture 24/7. Like I get that, right? I mean, yeah, I know a lot of people want to leave the United States, but at the end of the day, this is our home. So I want to go back to my home if things get uncomfortable or there is a righting of the ship. Of course, I'm gonna be there. And for us here in America, I believe that they're gonna be both sides of the tale. But I think any decent human, at least I think so. I can't speak for everybody, right? Any decent human wants the rights of people to be guaranteed, right? Human rights at the end of the day is a basic living right? The right to be able to live in a place that, especially if you pay taxes, which I don't know how the system there works. It sounds like there is no system, right? So that's the main thing. If there's no system, if there's no structure, then a country can't survive. It can't thrive, right? So if you have no checks and balances, you have no infrastructure, if all the money is being siphoned from the citizens of the country, then it's going to break down. It's essentially a failed state. So this is exciting for them because now there is hope. And at the end of the day, that's all we have, right? We have hope that, hey, something can change, right? And whether, the pundits like it or not, at the end of the day, the citizens of Venezuela got a major victory today because they know better than any of us what it's like to live in a country that's basically turned its back on its people. With that being said, this is Saving America's Money. Be strong, be safe, and continue to save America's money. Peace.